so much smoke you gotta crack a window up in here. This is Sick Flow, and you now dumbing out with the hottest DJ on the planet. I see you, Miss Kelly Kales. Turn that up.
It's your girl, French and Hell. Check out my girl, Kelly Kales, on LipglossNMics every Friday night at 11 p.m.
Well, congratulations. It is Friday night, and it's time for LipglossNMics, and I just had a tech difficulty, so I had to go fix that. But anyways, I just wanted to chime in and say welcome to LipglossNMics, and tonight, celebrating Black History Month, I have an author named Joyce, and she will give you all her details, okay? I'm going to play the song by Trigger the Gambler from New York. I believe he's in the New York area, and it's called Blessings, and it's kind of like really, like you got to listen to it. It's deep, okay? But anyways, Joyce was a public school teacher, and she decided that she wanted to be an author as well. And she also has started a nonprofit organization, Yamha. I hope I said that right. And she'll explain that all. And the first series of her book, she has like a couple of them coming out. The first one is entitled High School Stories, Life Interrupted. So I'm kind of excited to get her on the air and hear all about it. And I think y'all should be too.
Have been made to look at yourselves, to stem the tide of crime and violence that is afflicting our communities throughout America. Not by your design, but by the design of the wicked.
What's the relation? Government wipeout, martial law. Let's take over the White House. Americans saw you, UN police us. Population control, they don't want to increase us. Racist faces, states, places, detention camp, all the follows. Preparation for civil unrest, drugs and homicides, prostitutes undressed. This here genocide. God bless this earth, dudes dying for turf, brothers hanging themselves in jail. What it's worth? People so racist, life is so basic. We live to die, the in-betweens is what you make it. We living in poverty, starvation bother me. Dudes trying to feed their kids, there's more robberies. Now drugs selling, the crime rate rise. Another kid get murdered, someone's son dies. Here come new laws, blacks don't have a voice. They say we failed, and that's a brother choice. But I see a racial war, bomb is the sacrifice. For hell of the pale horse, Trump is the antichrist. Power, they wanna control wealth. Obamacare, they wanna control health. Homeland security, borders got drug wars. How is it legal when we got all these drug stores? What's the relation? Government wipeout, martial law. Let's take over the White House. Americans saw you, UN police us. Population control, they don't want to increase us. Racist faces, states, places, detention camp, all the follows. Preparation for civil unrest, drugs and homicide, prostitutes undressed. This is genocide. It's written in stone, look at Mount Rushmore. Morse left Russian, only left was count for. 120 lessons, knowledge come with blessings. Me and Smooth been getting schools since adolescence. Who's next to go to jail, killing for war crimes? Kids dying there, you better add on more time. You out of line if killing is all fine. We out of time, but I said it in Newsline. We're all the leaders, they all deceive us. They lost teachers, false preachers. Religion caused separation, God on punishment. Africa AIDS spread, look what they done to them. Before brothers speak, they get murdered for pre-rhymes. They trying to lock Trig up for pre-crime. Prolonged detention, nothing was mentioned. I'm here with no sentence for what I prevented. Now, what's the relation? Government wipeout, martial law. Let's take over the White House. Americans saw you, UN police us. Population control, they don't want to increase us. Racist faces, states, places, detention camp, all the follows. Preparation for civil unrest, drugs and homicide, prostitutes undressed. This here is genocide. Wars are undressed. Count the men that died, blacks on death row. Count the men that cried, fuck up the world trade. Now the world paid. FEMA, Katrina, what was the world now? What's the relation? Government wipeout, martial law. Let's take over the White House. Americans saw you, UN police us. Population control, they don't want to increase us. Racist faces, states, places, detention camp, all the follows. Preparation for civil unrest, drugs and homicide, prostitutes undressed. This here is genocide.
Angry crowds have gathered outside the governor's mansion in the US state of Minnesota to voice their fury at the killing by a police officer of a black man during a traffic stop. In this video, you can see one of the protesters speaking to the crowd. Behind her, as you can see, the gates there to the governor's mansion, which demonstrators have covered with crime scenes.
All right, everybody. So, as I promised, I have Joyce with me, and I'm really excited about it. And I thought that song fit, opening up for tonight. And also, it's Black History Month, so I was kind of, I realized that, Joyce, after, last week we couldn't do the interview, and then it got posted, so it was kind of like a blessing because it all kind of fell together.
Oh, yes.
So that was good. But can you just introduce yourself to everybody? I had kind of mentioned that you were a teacher for, how many years was it?
I taught for 18 years in public school. Most of those were in middle school. However, I taught kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm an author. I'm a life coach. I'm a consultant, and I'm a minister now.
Wow. Okay. So you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, I had to answer my calling.
That's good, though. That's good. And I mean, working with all those kids in the different age groups. And I was telling, before I gave a kind of a little synopsis of what, my special guest was. And she's starting a series of books. And she had wrote, you're only on the number one, right? The first one?
The first one is published. We're working on number 2.
Right. And the first one's called High School Stories, Life Interrupted. Do you want to tell everybody what it's about?
Okay, High School Stories, Life Interrupted. It is about mental health and anxiety and normalizing mental health and anxiety in high school students. It is also about relationships, romantic relationships, relationships among friends, relationships among parents and their children. It's also about a little bit about the self. It is also about gun control. It's about a lot of different things that we deal with in our everyday lives, except the story is being told from the perspective, it's of 4 high school juniors.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, it turns into the 4 high school juniors, but I mean, all the stuff that's in it could really go for any kid.
Yeah, true, because, number 1, next Thursday on the 14th is the anniversary of the Parkland school shooting. And every day you hear about school shootings, you hear about shootings in general. So when High School Stories opens up, it's realistic in that it's I lost a student to gun violence during the summer months, and in 2017, and I lost a student again in 2018. So the book begins with the summer of 2017. It ends with 2017, and kids go through that. As a matter of fact, my daughter and my son, their high school is now a little more armored. You have to go through a security gate. It's a little more locked. Students are starting to feel, the feedback I'm getting from my children and other students is that they don't feel like they're going to school. They feel like they're going into a prison, and it's not really actually making them feel more safe. They're feeling more anxiety.
Right, and I can see that because I think, we've all dealt with different things like that. And I mean, going through your teen years is hard enough. You know what I mean? You have all this, parent relationships, school, and relationships that start on a date. You know what I mean? So there's a lot on you already. You know what I mean? That you're feeling, and it's weird how you worked in the schools and then the shootings because it does affect you. In high school, there was stuff that's happened, and of course in grammar school now you can't just define what schools they're going to do this at. As I was growing up, my junior high year, we had a friend that shot himself in class.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of put the whole school, you know what I mean? We all kind of, it was like, if you would have known this kid, he was so happy all the time, you would have never realized that he had anything going on. You know what I'm saying? That he just pulled out the gun and decided to do it right in front of everybody in class, and just, I guess he was really depressed and nobody could see it. I mean, he was an athletic person. He was very, you know what I mean? He didn't reach out to anybody and nobody could see it. But I mean, that kind of put a thing on a lot of us, you know what I mean, for years, because it was like, wow, this is school. And like you said, you're supposed to feel safe there. As I got into high school, they started putting, like you said, they had, it was like you walk through, like when you walk through at the courthouses. Yeah, and you would walk through that, and then there was a guard standing there, you know, a security officer or whatever, and, you know, there would be a couple in the hallways. So it was kind of strange. It really was. It was, I can see where, you know, this generation it's even worse.
Well, you know, you mentioned no one saw what your friend was going through, your classmate was going through.
Yep.
The second book in High School Stories, Secrets, Lies, and Alibis, it deals a little with the mask that we wear. And as parents and as teachers, we have to tune in a little bit more to certain things. My daughter is talking about a friend in her class right now, and she's saying how disruptive he is, and Mama, I don't know what's wrong with him, but I know what's wrong with him. He's in a transition period. They're getting ready to graduate high school. He's in a transition period. He's having an identity crisis to the nth degree, and he's not necessarily handling it well. So much so that she said, Mom, I think he probably needs a little counseling. And so should I have been his teacher and I was noticing certain things about him, I definitely call his parents and have a conversation, at least feel where their mindset is, see what could possibly be going on with him. And my guess there again is he's in a huge identity crisis, because now he's about to be a man. And particularly if he's someone whose parents are saying, now that you're 18, you've graduated high school, now you have to get out the house and go be a man. Some people's parents are saying, you know, you have to go to college. Some people's parents are saying you have to go to work. So there's no telling what he's being told, but he's definitely in an identity crisis and having a miniature breakdown. He's always been a great kid. The only thing I could figure that might be going on with him is he's seriously in an identity crisis.
Right. Huh.
And he may need help in managing his crisis, you know?
Right, because some of these kids that don't get help, that's what happens, you know what I mean? Either they think of suicide, because there's a lot of suicide in school now, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I was at a networking event yesterday, and I was talking to the mother of a 10-year-old who's concerned about some of the things that her child comes home and say about some of the kids at school. And my children are not 10, but I could remember there were times when I would have to tune in a little bit more to what my children were saying and interject or clarify some things. So we're living in some scary times. We really are.
Yeah, and it's sad because, you know, you've been teaching for so long, and you know, you sound like you're a great person and you were good with your children in the classes, you know. And I don't mean to sound like negative, but there's a lot of teachers out there that aren't like you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it, you know. I mean, I witnessed it with my kids, you know. And it was like my youngest, he was a little, I don't know, you know, they claim the ADHD, and I don't agree with all that. Like, I don't agree with putting the kids on medicine just because, you know, I don't agree with all that. And his football coach had told me, you know, not to do it and all this. So I did natural ways, you know, I looked it up, and there was things that I could do. But I could see where there was some teachers that just weren't really, you know, I want to say that they were there doing their job, but I mean, there was only like one teacher out of all his teachers that she was kind of like you know, she pulled me aside and she was like, you know, she goes, I feel like they got him targeted, you know, and it's true. And I seen it, and I was just like, what do I do? And then like the last call, she told me she was retiring that year, and she told me to take him out of the school. After I did research on the school, they're like the lowest school in the whole area. You know what I mean? As far as graduation rate, a lot of dropouts. You know, there was a lot of things. So I wasn't fearing. I mean, it's my kid. I'm gonna do everything I can to find out what's going on, you know. Now, these books, have you like gotten rid of a lot of them to teenagers? Like, have they read them?
Well, it seems like a lot of adults are reading them. Some teenagers are reading them, and I can understand why. The book came out in September. Schools have their curriculum set.
Right.
So, hopefully next school year, people will be a little bit more in tune. I'm definitely working to get on their radar to let them understand how important it is to have children to read high school stories, the series, because it's going to deal with real life issues that we don't always want to talk about. Even as parents, we don't always want to talk about. But these are things that need to be discussed. And they need to be discussed because we need to save our children's lives. We need to make sure that they have a quality of life. We need to make sure that they understand that we're going to go through challenges in life, and we go through cycles. Everything doesn't stay the same. I was telling a client today that one of my favorite scenes in The Matrix Reloaded is when Neo kisses the Merovingian's wife. And she looks at Trinity and she says, such a thing is not meant to last. When nothing is meant to last. Everything goes through cycles on this earth. So when we recognize and understand that it's a season, then our children will know how to handle it a little bit better. This doesn't last always. This passes. And what the Merovingian's wife was saying to Trinity is true. Because when you go through Matrix Revolution, then Trinity dies and so does Neo. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to have a breakup. It just meant that in the state they were in, it was not meant to last. Now, they may go on into eternity, but in the place where they were, it was not going to last, and that's with anything. And when our children understand that it's just for a season, and let's see how we can grow, let's see what lessons we can learn, then they'll be better equipped to fight. And what I mean by fight, that they're not going to be willing to give up as quickly.
Right.
We've got to get that message out to our children that this is not meant to last.
Now, you also started a nonprofit group. I can't say, how do you say it? Yamha?
Mental Health Alliance. Yes.
Okay.
So, Kelly, I'm excited about that because we are trudging along. We are working hard. We have a few young adults who are going through the personal development piece program that we have as a part of our services. And our mission is to strengthen the family bond. And one of the things that we're focusing on is workforce development. So if we're able to keep people gainfully employed, if we're able to help males and females between the ages of 16 and 30 establish strong relationships with who they are, they're able to establish strong relationships with the romantic partner, and the parent-child love relationship will be able to sustain. And so our mission is to strengthen the family bond. We are working on relationships, personal development, life skills, workforce development, academics, whatever we can do to help support the family to keep them together. So we're real excited about that.
So that sounds like it's growing really good. Now, are you going to expand it into other cities or, after it gets bigger and bigger?
Oh, yeah, that is our goal. That's our goal.
That sounds good.
Definitely our goal. Yeah, because my parents divorced. Unfortunately, I had to go through a divorce. It was never my plan, but it was something that had to be. And just because I've had to experience divorce doesn't mean that I can't help other people stay together. I would love to see families stay together. And so that's part of our mission. Coming out of my pain, I'm hoping that other people will be able to stay together.
And it's true. Definitely true. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but as you're saying that, I'm thinking like, wow, because my daughter was just talking to me tonight, and my youngest, we're trying to get him to, we're not forcing him, but we kind of like, she put it in his ear, like, you know, are you going to ask your girlfriend for Valentine's to, you know, get engaged, you know? And they were just talking about it the other night, and my son is only 23. But they've been together for 4.5 years. They've known each other way longer than that, you know, from high school and middle school, and they get along really good. I mean, for a young couple, I'm pretty impressed. And he turned around to my daughter and he said, "I don't know." He said, "I want to." He said, "I was thinking about it." He said, "But you know what? I feel like when everybody gets married, it falls apart." And I just looked at my daughter. I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, and she's like, I told him no, but you know what? I wonder, like, because, you know, I myself had went through a divorce too, but we had been together for like 17 years, and you know, it had to be an ending, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't think that all marriages don't work. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not true. And,
well, I'm one of the few people among my friends who are divorced. I was talking to a lady tonight, and I asked her, I said, "How long have you been married?" Now, I knew she got married after I did because she used the flower girl dresses from my wedding and her wedding and some of the other things. So I knew that. But I didn't realize that I got married on July 20th. She got married on August 10th.
Oh, wow.
She said it's been 23 years. So it would have been 23 years for me. I have other friends who've been married for 30 years. Anywhere from 30 to like, I think 18 years. So people in my friend group, there are only 2 of us out of about 40 people who are divorced.
Right.
So let them know that it does not have to be.
I know, and that's what I was thinking. You know, I sat back and I was like, you know, like my grandparents were married a long time. You know, my aunt and uncle were married a long time. So I mean, he's had a lot of people that are married. You know, and his fiance, well, hopefully going to be his fiance. Her parents have been together a long time too. So I didn't want him to think that, you know what I'm saying, that it was going to be like that, because I think honestly, looking on the outside, they have a healthy relationship. You never see them argue. If they do, it's behind closed doors, which is very rare to see with young people these days. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, wow, like what happened? You know, like how did he get like this? Because you don't see too much of that. But I think that it's important that you have all these things going on for young people, because I feel we had a lot growing up, you know, things that were going on in society, but it's definitely so much worse now.
Sure to register your and it is our goal and our purpose to, out of all of the pain, the killing, the students losing their lives. Kelly, even I was at the sentencing hearing for one of the students, and even when I looked at the female who's in love with the man who's going to jail for 18 years and who's leaving 2 daughters behind, it is our goal to reach out to them, to help them as much as we can as well, even if that means we're providing some sort of scholarship or some kind of financial support to help the mother if she needs help going to see the father, where he could somehow be involved in his children's lives, if that's what needs to happen, because my heart broke, knowing that 2 little girls were losing their dad. Right. Because nobody won in that situation. Nobody.
Right. And it's hard because, I mean, you know, it's hard to explain to your child, like, you know, why is their parent behind the wall, or what, you know, they're going to have to be without them. It's not by the father's choice. You know, you know, the actions or whatever of any parent but yeah, that is, I never really looked at that as much as, now that you put it out there, you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of emotions too, and a lot of growth that's hard, and there's really not people there for that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you're making a big movement and doing your thing for the, you know, kids and society, and I think the books are going to be a big thing as you go on. Like you said, you're on number 2 now. So, I mean, there ain't no reason you can't go on to, you know, like 10 of them, because series usually have a good number of books.
Yes, and what we want to do is we want to showcase reality.
Right.
And tell the story so that we could spark conversations. And healing happens, change happens when people start talking.
Right.
But we have to talk about the right things.
Yep.
You know, and the right thing to talk about is how do we help our teenagers and young adults have solid lives so that they can keep their families together, so that we can heal some of the things that have plagued American families.
Yeah. And there's a lot. I mean, it's hard to, like, I mean, what would you say would be the biggest thing that's hard for the kids to deal with in this, like, generation and time?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know there's going to be, but I mean, there's got to be something that kind of, like, puts over all of it.
I'm going to be honest, probably more than anything else is kids need their parents. That's just the bottom line. They need us just as much during their teenage years as they needed us when we were nursing them and changing diapers. I think that as parents, we think when our children get a certain age that they're ready to be off on their own, but they're really not. I still find it necessary to listen to my daughter, to provide guidance, to provide clarity, because she thinks she knows everything. I had to tell her today, I said, look, honey, you've taken your first Psychology 101 class, and I get it, but you have to remember that's an introductory course.
Right.
So I know a little bit more than you do, so you need to listen to me at this point. And she didn't like it, but she had to concede because she knew I was telling the truth. Right. So as parents, sometimes we have to have those conversations, and we have to show our own vulnerabilities and our own fears to get them to let down their veil and be open. And if when we listen, they have a lot to say. I learned just as much from my biological children and my students as I have thought that I taught them. And one thing that we need to understand as parents, and I had to learn this the hard way, is that we don't have control over our children. We have something more powerful than control, and that is influence. We can influence our children, and being influential in their lives is really more powerful and enduring than trying to control them. And I've had to learn how to be an empathetic listener when it came to my children. My daughter would say to me sometimes, Mama, look, I don't need you to be my therapist, my mom, or my teacher right now. I simply need you to listen. And so a lot of times we listen in order to respond, but what we need to do is listen to understand what is being said. And that's what I had to learn as a parent. Once I learned that as a parent, my relationship with my daughter improved tremendously. But they definitely need us to listen. And sometimes I don't always clarify or try to interject certain things. I kind of let her be, as long as I know it's not going to be dangerous for her to have her ideals and thoughts and things like that. Sometimes they need correcting.
Right.
But a lot of times they don't. And so I learned from them just as much as I think I teach them. And that was the same way when I was a teacher. One of the many joys of teaching was the learning.
Right, because you learn, like you said, and I feel that's really important too, because a lot of parents, like, they sit there, but I don't think they really listen. And they're just a pair of ears, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, you're supposed to listen, and then don't say what the kid wants to hear, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like sit back and think on it, and then if it's got something that, you know, they want answered, or they're coming to you for advice, then, you know, sit back and give the advice. But I feel a lot of times parents just listen as a pair of ears, and they don't, you know, they'll let the kid feel how they want to feel, and not, like you said, not, how do I say it properly, like, not butt in and kind of like, you know, well, what if you look at this scenario, or, you know what I mean, and try to give them advice on if they think that it's something that might harm them.
Exactly.
And it's hard. I mean, they're faced with a lot more than we were, you know, and I thought that it was hard when we were growing up, you know, and I think being a teenager is the worst. And the years that you put into those books, I think going through school, that's definitely on top, you know, because they have that they have to deal with. And then, like you said, what they have to deal with at home. You know, there's a lot of suicide nowadays, a lot of bullying. I mean, we've always had problems with suicide, and that's another thing. You know, I lost my sister at 16, and that's how she did it, you know. And I was in school, and I was actually wanting to quit school, and she was like driving me around, telling me, you know, trying to be the bigger sister, saying, okay, well, if this is something, did you talk to Ma yet? You know, is this something you really want to do? And she's like, well, you have to get a job if you're just going to quit school. You can't just sit home. So she was taking me around to get all applications and make me fill them out. She didn't want me to leave, you know what I mean? She was trying to make me see what it was really going to be like, you know? And, well, after, you know, it was the next day that she, you know, that had happened. And it was hard. Like, I dropped out my senior year. And I went back to school afterwards, you know what I mean? Like, when I got a little bit older. But, I mean, if I would have had people to talk to around then, you know, that would listen to me and, you know, come back. I mean, my mom was there, but she really didn't. All she did was listen. She didn't help me through it. So it was something that I carried it for years. As part of my personality, I was so afraid to get close to people. Even till this day, February is like the worst month for me. I hate February. Like, you know, I'm not, I pull away from a lot of things. I'm very distant. So it's kind of, you know, and I had been through therapy, and that's another thing. I think kids of today, where you had mentioned counseling and things like that, a lot of parents knock it down, you know what I mean? Be like, oh, you don't need to go to no counselor, you don't need to do this, or they want to know what you're talking to the counselor about. And I feel that that's wrong too, because, you know, kids need somebody to talk to. And if go ahead.
No, you go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and if they don't have somebody to talk to, a counselor, you know, like someone like you, I mean, there's good counselors out there. And I've always told people, like, you know, teenagers or whatever, if they needed someone to talk to, I was there. But also, you know, they can, if you don't like that counselor, you can ask to see someone else. You know what I mean? You want to find that person that you're going to feel. And that person's on the outside, so you don't have to worry about, like, what you can talk to them about. You know, you can let everything out. And that, I mean, I didn't go for a while. I ran for years because, I mean, it is scary. You know what I mean? And I guess they had told my mom there was emotional things that were coming out with that. Being a young girl and going into womanhood, I wasn't starting because I guess everything that had happened with my sister kind of was like, so she suggested it was a community center, and she told my mom that I should go to counseling, but I ran, you know what I mean, because I didn't want to talk to anybody about all that. That was just, for years I ran. But when I finally did get into therapy, it worked. And I ended up doing group talks, with other teenagers that were going through that now that I was older. So it kind of like, what I went through, it might have been hard, but it kind of also grew. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of helped me help other people, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. It does. And, when we go through trials and tribulations, I believe there's a lesson in it for us, but then there's also a lesson in it for us to share to others.
Right.
I've always, and I still say, if I've suffered something, I'm going to let you know you don't have to suffer. I can be honest with you and say, hey, this is what happened. This is the suffering that it causes. How about if you choose another path?
Right, right.
And, Kelly, your mom was probably, it's possible that your mom didn't know how to handle her own grief over her daughter. And which is why she didn't necessarily know how to handle her grief, help you handle your grief.
Right.
There are times I had to, handling my divorce was not the easiest thing in the world, and I didn't always respond the way that I should have to my children and their pain. And even now, sometimes I go back and I analyze everything. And if I feel like I need to apologize, I go and apologize, and I'll say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't handle that the best possible way.
Right.
Or there was another way I could have done that. And I try to do that as much as humanly possible, because I want to make sure that as my children go into the world, they are as whole as they could possibly be.
Right, right.
So she was probably suffering. Your mom, in shock as well.
But it's it's a process. I mean, and I think that's very important to have these kids like whole before they go into the world, because Lord only knows everything that's out there. And I try not to, I try not to, how do I say, take sides. I try to listen and see what they're about. I mean, I have a really open relationship with my kids. Like, they can talk to me about anything, and I'm glad I have that, because I really didn't have that growing up. So I feel that, you know what I mean? Like, with them, it was I guess I kind of got too overprotective, though. You know what I'm saying? When they were younger. But, it's all good. So this group that, you're doing, I know that you said that, you have different types. How old are the kids that go through that?
Okay, so our target population is 16 to 30. And we're targeting the young adult population because we want to help strengthen their family bond so they will have young families. And our goal is to help strengthen that bond, because a lot of people don't have enough skills to earn a livable wage. So if we can help people through workforce development earn a livable wage, we believe that is one key to sustaining a strong family bond. The next thing we believe is key in helping to sustain a strong family bond is addressing mental health issues.
Right.
The third thing is relationship development. So how do we relate to each other in a male-female relationship? A lot of people don't know that. So we can help them understand, help a man understand a woman and a woman understand a man, and how you need to come together in a relationship. And just because somebody has said something or done something to upset you doesn't mean that you should break that bond.
Right.
You're going to go through moments where you just don't like each other. I remember when I got married, right before I got married, I was working with this older lady, and she said to me, Joyce, sometimes I loved my husband. Sometimes I hated my husband. And sometimes I wanted to kill my husband.
No.
And I thought about what she said. And you do go through all of those type of cycles.
Yep.
You're so angry. You're looking at him and say, you know what, right about now, I could just kill you. So I'm going to another room. So you do go through those things. And we need to let our young adults know that when you go through that, that is normal. So then how do I get through this moment? Sometimes you get through that moment. Maybe you need to take a drive. Maybe you need to take a walk. Maybe you need to go to sleep. Maybe you need to take a shower. Find you some yard work. Do you have some clothes you need to mend? How about if you go in the kitchen and cook? How about if you play a board game with the children? So there's a way that you can get through that. And then that gives you a little bit of time and a little bit of space. Then you come together and you talk about it. You must have strong communication in order to have a great marriage. And as I've grown, I look back on my marriage and I can see where there were some areas I needed to grow in. So I've been working on myself, and I believe that I will be married again. So when I go into my next marriage, then going into that marriage, I will have better tools that could help me navigate the difficult times that every marriage goes through. Now, sometimes divorce has to happen. Don't get me wrong. My divorce could not have been avoided. In my eyes, it could not have been avoided.
Right.
Okay? Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I believe that too, and I think we all grow, and it goes back to the Matrix, where, you're with that person for that reason for years, but that person might have not meant to be with you for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? There's just different, like you said, that time period. And mine had to happen too, and I feel that maybe you're right. I mean, I think every day, I read something last week about a son that had wrote something about his 70-year-old father, and he said that it's called, as soon as you leave your house, when you're 18, whatever, whenever you move out, okay, it's called adulting. And he said, even though he's 70 years old, doesn't mean he knows everything. That every day he tries to be a better person than the day before. And that he always looks at life as there's something more out there for him to learn. And he said, once you don't have any of that, there's no life in you anymore. And I had to sit back and take that all in for a minute. And I was just like, wow. Because I'm always trying to, you look at the things in the past and you're like, okay, well, maybe if I would have done that different. Or, maybe I wasn't, developing that I kind of took it this way. And it's true. Like, even now, I see growth in me just in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's good. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. And I don't know why people get upset about it and think, oh, no, I'm grown. And, the people that know everything. And it's like, okay, well, you think that way. But everybody always has something they can improve.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Yeah, because I look back on myself and I think about all the things that I've worked on. And there's always room for improvement. Definitely so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're about to wrap it up. I need you to tell everybody where they can buy the book, first of all.
Well, Amazon.com is where you can get High School Stories, Life Interrupted. If you are a parent, a teacher, a counselor, anyone who's working with children, interacting with children, check out Enlightened Teaching, Elevating Through Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs as well. Those two resources will be able to help you. And look for me on Facebook. I will be doing Facebook Live Conversations with Joyce coming very soon.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be really good. And that's something that, so you're gonna do the Facebook Live, like a show.
Yes.
Well, that'll be awesome, and a lot of kids that you can outreach to just through Facebook. I like that. What about all your links, like social media links?
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, so there. I was like, what about your social media links?
Well, so I'm on Twitter at ET4UCooper. I'm on LinkedIn. And you can find me on Facebook under High School Stories, Life Interrupted, and YAMHA, YAMHA, Young Adult Mental Health Alliance. And it's actually at YAMHA 2018 on Facebook.
Good. Okay, so that's good. And give one message that you would give to all the youth of today, which I know there's plenty of more than one, but, one that really sticks out.
Well, when I was their age, I was going through an identity crisis. And you go through those, you're changing, you're transforming. You don't know exactly what you want to be. You know that you're about to enter adulthood. My suggestion is ride everything out as long as you can. So if you can go to college, even if it's a 2-year college, to give yourself a little more time to grow up, and try to let your parents know what it is that you need, that you really, really need, because they're there to help. A lot of times parents think that when you get into your 14 and 15 years of age that you don't need us as much, but let them know that you still need them, and let them know what you need. And if you have to explain why, explain why, because let's try to get this parenting thing and child thing tight and right, so that when you are 30, 35, and 40, that we don't have to help you through a serious crisis at that point in life.
Right. That sounds good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You have any shout-outs that you want to give to anybody?
Well, you know what? I'm going to give a shout-out to my children, Angelica and AJ. And the reason why I'm giving a shout-out to Angelica and AJ, because they give up a lot so that I can do the work that God has called me to do. And I appreciate them for sharing their mom in the way that they have to share me. That's
awesome. It's true, because anybody to be, trying to do some kind of calling in life, and it's your family that, has to accommodate it. And if they're good with it, then, that's good. So everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us. And don't forget, go check out the book, the title, and you said it's on Amazon, right?
Yes, Amazon.
And it will be a series. The first one is high school students, the life interrupted, right?
Yes, High School Stories, Life Interrupted. The next one that will be rolling out in the fall is High School Stories, Secrets, Lies, and Alibis.
So see, y'all pick up that copy of the first one, and then that way by the time, you're done, you can get the second one. And make sure that you check out her. You said you had the page for the group that you have, right?
Yes.
So
it's at Yamha 2018 on Facebook, and High School Stories, Life Interrupted. We have a page there on Facebook as well.
So you can all tell your friends and so what to go and support it, and spread the word, because we know it's not just wherever she is that those teens need help. It's everywhere.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you came back again. I was like,
but thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that it elevates and grows a lot this year.
Well, thank you so much, and I see your show is growing, and much love and success, and I pray for you, girl, as much as I pray for myself, because you're doing a wonderful work, and I just hope God continues to bless it and let it flourish and grow.
Thank you, and I can't wait to see where you're at next year with all this. I'm going to have to come check out those pages, too, on Facebook.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and you have a great weekend.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye-bye. Okay. All right, y'all, so that was Joyce and Joyce Cooper, and go check out those pages. I think, a lot of teenagers, they stray, And it's not like, there's a lot on all these kids, and nowadays it's happening even before your teens, and it's true. If you look at the teens, a lot of them, they go to college, their early 20s, they still got a lot of pressure on them. And nowadays there's just so many obstacles in the way too. And maybe if you understood a lot more of the different types of things, you wouldn't have to face all this by yourself, and you